Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Jay Encarnacion, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we are thrilled to have Carol Schultz, the founder and CEO of Vertical Elevation. Carol brings over 30 years of expertise in talent development and leadership coaching, a best-selling book powered by people, and a passion for building talent-centric organizations that drive retention, engagement, and profitability. Based in Colorado, Vertical Elevation, founded nearly 3 decades ago, is transforming how companies align talent strategies with business goals, particularly in the tech sector. We'll be exploring her founding story, how her business empowers clients through services like executive coaching and the Woman Ascending program, and her vision for scaling this impact-driven venture. So let's dive right in. Carol, welcome to Founders Future.
Good to be here, Jay. Thanks for having me.
An absolute pleasure, Carol. So let's start at the very top for our listeners here, Carol. Take us back to the beginning. What specific problem in the talent management landscape, perhaps around employee retention or leadership development, really inspired you to start Vertical Elevation?
What it started was decades of executive search experience and real search experience. I was a professional headhunter and started my coaching. So that started that in 1992, started my coaching training in 1998. And the more I learned, the better I got in the search industry, the more I realized how broken it was. And I have stories about why that is. And I think the lowest common denominator is CEOs look at it as an HR function, which it's not. Quality headhunting, people like me, there are other people like me out there, are high-level complex salespeople. It's a high-level sale.
Yeah.
And would you have your head of sales reporting into human resources? Probably not. So the more this went along and I realized that, I thought to myself, this is a problem. Why is this a problem? And I started interviewing people from first line management on up the food chain. And really what I got was that companies didn't have a recruiting problem. They had an alignment and strategy problem, which filtered down to their recruiting. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So with that being said, Carol, and how in-depth you are with Vertical Elevation and the way that you're looking at things and how long you've been in the space, talk to us a bit about how Vertical Elevation's offerings have evolved since you first started. So from what you're providing to who you're serving, how's that evolved thus far to now?
Yeah, that's definitely evolved. And I would say it evolved even further when I wrote the book almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And part of it, as being in the sales business as well, is that not everything works if you sell it in a particular way.
Right.
So I repackaged what I was selling really into a 9-step process that walk companies through step by step what they need to have for their company to actually function properly and be aligned. And a lot of this comes from also CEOs spending so much time doing other people's jobs at their company.
Sense. Absolutely.
Right? It's not uncommon for a CEO to spend I had a client who was a founder spending her comments, 80 to 100 hours a week, 50% of which was being spent managing her people, which she had no business doing.
Yeah.
So this all rolled into solving this problem for founders and CEOs. And I mean, and other leaders as well. If you're spending all your time managing people, you're not actually doing your job.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That definitely makes sense on that front. So help us understand it, especially for our listeners who can end up coming to you and being clients of yours and working with you after the episode here. Carol, walk us through how you're really generating revenue today. Obviously, with so much experience in the space and what you're doing, what's the core offer there? I know you have the career coaching, the executive leadership programs, the talent-centric organization roadmaps. How is that structured for your clients when they come to you?
So like I said, the main structure is this 9-step program. How do we find our clients? A couple of different ways. For one thing, we are huge on social media. I do shorts all the time. That is something we've just started doing recently. We were posting a lot, but we started doing shorts. And this now allows me to get out there and people can actually see me. And I think the important thing about that, doing videos, talking about, I don't talk a lot about, gosh, I have over 30 years experience, but I mentioned that on some of the videos, especially the ones that I'm doing around career and people. And between the columns I write for Inc. magazine, I've been with them for almost 2 years now, all that social proof. That social proof helps immensely, especially in a field. Do I have 27 years of coaching training experience? Yes, I do. But I'm not selling myself strictly as a coach. I'm selling myself as, let's call myself fractional chief of organizational strategy. So I'm coming in to be the CEO's right-hand person and get this process done so they don't have to worry about it any longer. And between those things, the social proof, and I also run 2 executive roundtables a month where we invite primarily founders and CEOs, but I get chief revenue officers, chief financial officers, a smattering of other people outside of the CEO. And those are another great way for people to get to know me. My podcast is another great way for people to get to know me. I interview experts on a particular subject twice a month.
Yeah.
All these things gets me on the phone with people who, if I send them, I'm no fan of cold emailing, believe me. I think it's completely ineffective. But it gets me on the phone with CEOs who I probably could not get on the phone otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's that warm lead. It's that people getting to know you, getting to understand you. And of course, speaking with authority, which I do on the subjects I know about only, people start to understand, this person really knows what they're talking about. We should talk to them further.
Which is absolutely incredible, having so many different routes, right, and so many avenues to bring consistent client and flow to the company and the business. So being that you're doing so much on really that organic side with the roundtables and the podcast and the social media presence, are you doing anything around ads as well? Or is that something you're not really even exploring because of the success you're seeing?
I'm generally a big fat no to advertising.
Okay.
I would have to, ads are expensive. And listen, I'm spending a lot of money doing a lot of things, but I just don't know. I personally don't know if ads are effective for what I'm selling.
Gotcha. Okay. So very interested on that front. See more. With that being said, how do you continue to picture scaling and predictability, even with kind of the routes that you have right now? How do you look at that moving forward and continuing to grow and scale?
Yeah, that's the $64,000 question, right? So often people think, I think back to a client of mine, this is probably about 12 years ago, and I was still doing search work back then. And the CEO had hired a third-party firm to do technical software developers, recruiting for them. And I said to him, I was talking to the CEO one day, the co-founder, and I said, so how's that outfit working that you hired? He goes, we fired him after 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I said, really, why? And he says, you know how it is, Carol. The rainmaker comes in and sells you the project, and then they put somebody else on the project that's just not as good as you are, or that's just not good at all. And that, of course, is a gross generalization, though it is true in many cases. So my challenge has been, who do I find that can deliver the same things I can deliver? I know there's people out there, and it's just a matter of when my business gets to the point where I can't handle the business, that's when I have to start thinking about bringing someone else in. And I have already in mind a few people. I'm not looking to grow a 50-person company. I'm just not interested in that. At least I don't think I am.
Right now, exactly. But still, scaling is the picture. Wanting to grow, continue to get there, continue to be successful, which makes sense, and clearly doing many things on that route to continue to get there. As far as your sales process goes, Carol, running the show on your own here with the sales process, with closing?
Well,
So
with the
sales
sales process,
team.
yes. I have a number of people who work for me. They do lots of other things, but the sales process really falls on my shoulders at this point, at least. I either somebody makes an appointment with me or somebody from my roundtable wants to speak to me further. We schedule an appointment. I scheduled 3 appointments today, and then I'll follow up with those people on with those appointments. And then at the end of that call, determine, do they want to move? Do they want to move forward? And I don't actually ask them, do they want to move forward? It's not quite like that in sales. You don't want to get a yes or a no question out of somebody. In my experience, it's like when I would teach people around asking what their closing style was in an interview. Because
Yeah.
an interview is nothing more than a high-level sales call. When people would say, I just ask them, do you have any questions? No, we don't have any questions. It's like walking into a retail store and saying to someone, having the person say to you, hi, can I help you with anything? No, I'm just looking. It's important to really understand how to close those calls and get to the next step with somebody. Now, does everybody buy? Of course not. My strategy is not a profit sharing strategy. It's oh my gosh, I'm having a complete brain freeze. I hope you can cut this part
Yep,
out.
no worries.
It's partly performance based.
Okay, gotcha.
So what happens is companies pay me a retainer,
Okay.
and it's not a cheap retainer, but it's
Mhm.
lower than the cost of the whole project, which would be about $150,000. So they pay me a retainer up front, and then at the end of the project, we decide this in advance. At the end of the project, they pay me a percentage of the change in their sales from the point to the next 3 months, let's say.
Very intuitive technique and strategy for
Yeah.
getting in and having that with your clients. So with that, Carol, obviously it sounds like you're doing so much on your own right now. With still picturing the scale and how effective things are, what do you see right now as a bottleneck that you're facing for that growth, for that scale, whether it be quality lead generation consistently or converting those leads into clients, being that you're on your own there, or
Yeah.
delivering the services?
I would say it's the quality of getting me in front of the right people.
Gotcha.
It's often when you're selling to founders, and primarily founders and CEOs. I've had a couple of people recently, and I'm like, not funded. They're bootstrapping. I just had somebody ask me to speak at a conference
Yeah.
in Chicago in 2 months. And I said, so what are the financial arrangements? Oh yeah, you have to pay all your own expenses to do it.
Interesting.
Well, not so sure I want to take 2 days off of work to fly to Chicago, spend a fortune on a hotel. And I'm not so sure if this is my wheelhouse of clients.
Makes sense.
It's really getting, and I think for anyone who has a business that's selling, Jay,
Yeah.
it's getting in front of the right people.
Yes, absolutely. With that being said, and that mindset, obviously, with that growth mindset you have, what are you really focused on then, Carol? Talk to us about that over the rest of the year here. How do you plan on continuing to break through that, bring in more quality, get in front of the right people, continue to scale effectively, pull yourself away from the sales and really focus more on that fulfillment side? What are you focused on for the rest of the year there?
Certainly, and what we've already done is alter some of our messaging.
Yeah.
Right, especially for my roundtables. We've adjusted that, and anytime you do sales, you have to tweak that, right? It's almost like an A/B test. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't work. So you have to start seeing, am I attracting the right people? And I think we need to put in one more caveat into my invitations that I want people, but they either have to be funded or generating revenue already.
Makes sense. Definitely.
Because again, somebody who doesn't have money, literally living at home with their parents, whatever they happen to be doing, how does that person ultimately pay me? Because I can't live off of equity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Absolutely.
So I'd say that's one of the biggest things, is just tweaking that bit of a challenge, and always continuing to fine tune my personal messaging in my roundtables. Really, when I'm in front of people, and I would hope any professional is, I'm present in those conversations. I don't even need to be looking at the faces on the screen. It's in my head, visualized. I know who said what, I'm taking notes, and I can always refer back to that. And that's another thing I believe anybody who's growing a company really needs to do, is be present and actively listen to the prospect and what their needs are. That's one of the ways. That may not be the nuts and bolts of how to scale, but that's a piece. If you don't have that, you're not going to be able to scale.
Exactly. I mean, with that, then, Carol, I would love to get a little bit hypothetical with you. Bring a genie into the room with us right now, snap our fingers, and provide you with unlimited
Right.
resources at your
Yep.
fingertips. What are you implementing immediately, Carol?
What am I implementing immediately?
Immediately.
What we're implementing immediately right now is adding this other series of videos, shorts that we're doing.
Okay.
That's really it. And they've already been getting massively good responses.
Beautiful. So just
Because
really,
I just haven't been focusing on my leadership coaching, strictly leadership coaching. That's part of what I do, but I haven't been focusing on strictly that or strictly career coaching, and people need it.
right.
And yeah, so I'd say that's really where my main focus is right now. That, and like I said, really making sure we've got the right people coming to my roundtables, whether they move forward with me or not.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I just have one more question for you, Karen. It's incredible having so much insight into what you're doing, how you've been so successful. So truly a pleasure having you on the show so far. So my last question before the lightning round for you, Carol, is going to be as far as your vision of the talent management industry as a whole and its evolution in the coming years, what do you see that evolution as, and how are you positioning yourself to stay on the forefront of that?
That's a really great question because I am really disappointed with how talent is being done.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just can't be the nation of sheep and follow along the line with that. I think what companies are going to realize, Jay, is that all these tips, tricks, and tools that they're using to recruit, they're going to find out that it's really not effective.
Yeah.
This post and pray job strategy, which happened really when the internet came about. Is that 30 years ago now?
Yeah.
31 years ago. That cannot continue. It's a real problem, and that's for a whole other conversation. So I can't, for me, it's still in that 9-step process,
Yeah.
training companies on how to recruit effectively.
Mm.
That's just a piece of that process that
Yeah.
is then aligned with their business strategy and their vision and so on and so forth, and how to do that, because companies don't know how to do that because,
Right.
like I said at the beginning, they leave that in the hands of human resources. Human resources does not understand recruiting. People know human resources. They don't know what it means to be a professional headhunter because none
Right.
of them have ever done it. If they did, they
Incredible.
wouldn't be doing human resources.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned in the beginning, it's
Yeah.
more sales, right?
Yeah.
And that outlook and personality of bring the right talent in. Couldn't agree more on that front.
Yeah.
I do want to go into a lightning round
Yep.
before we close out the show for
Mhm.
listeners here, Carol. And I really would love to know what is a tool or a resource that you're using right now, whether it's a leadership coaching framework, a talent strategy from your book, but what's just really been a game changer for vertical elevation this far?
Really having an integrated CRM that isn't just a CRM that works with not only keeping track of my deals, where they are, and so on, but the things that I can use the same platforms for sending out my monthly newsletter, that I can use the same platform for sending out my weekly podcast email. That type of a platform
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, immensely helpful for anyone. It's just a matter of finding the right one for you. And some of them, I used to be with one, I left them last year, and they raised the price by about 400%.
Wow.
And I wasn't using it enough, utilizing it in a way that these massive users are, big agencies and things. So I had to leave them and find another company. And
Yeah.
that's a challenge when you have to do that.
It is for
Yeah.
sure. But luckily found one that's working well now. So
Yeah.
that's a
It took
good
a
thing.
little work, but we're finally in a groove with it.
We're here. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Just to finish us off here, Carol, what is a piece of advice that you can offer to our listeners right now, tuning in, other founders, entrepreneurs, either
Yes.
starting out or in the middle of it? What can you offer them before we wrap up?
I give everybody the exact same advice. Stop wasting your $500, $1,000 an hour, whatever that is, time
Yep.
doing $50, $7,500 an hour work.
Mm.
Okay. This is the biggest problem for CEOs. Find someone to do the work for you, whether it's someone like me that's coming in as a fractional, or whether you'd want to hire somebody part-time, whatever that looks like. Stop being penny wise and pound foolish. If you don't have funding, either don't start a company or go out and get a business loan. If you are unwilling to actually put your money where your mouth is and build a company, well, I have to have that safety of my full-time job. And so I'm going to stay living with my parents, whatever that might be. Just stop it.
Yeah.
If you really believe in what you're doing, go out and find the right advisors to help you. So yeah, that's really the net.
I love it. I love it. With that right there, that is going to wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. Carol, I just want to thank you again coming on the show and sharing your incredible journey, everything that you've been able to achieve and accomplish, and your insights with us today. Truly a pleasure. Clear as day why you're so successful and will continue to be successful. So again, thank you so much. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, which I know so many of you have, don't forget to subscribe to Founders Future wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also check out Vertical Elevation at verticalelevation.com for their talent-centric solutions. Also follow Carol on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Carol B. And for more resources and insights, come visit us at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their growth through trained appointment setters and world-class marketing systems. Until then, keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next one.